Madam, within 2 minutes, we are going to start, madam.
Wonderful.
Good evening, one and all. I hope everyone is safe during this pandemic. Welcome to the webinar. Welcome to the international webinar of Sheshapuram Evening Degree College on Journey of Women, Puberty to Post-Menopause. At the outset, I am happy to inform you all that our Evening Degree College celebrating its Golden Jubilee year. On behalf of our college, we congratulate all the stakeholders. Chetana Women Empowerment Cell, in association with Days for Girls International, Washington, USA, is organizing international webinar on Sakhi Manthana, Journey of Women, Puberty to Post-Menopause. Women are facing several health hazards that have an adverse effect on them and their offspring. In this webinar, the potential health risk factor and repercussion in women are discussed so that substance of well-being is maintained and appropriate strategic intervention are made at critical stages such as at childhood, adolescence, pregnancy, and post-menopause. Weakened and restricted access to public health system for low socio-economic status, women and unregulated growth of the private sectors in health care is leading to a near total eclipse of availability and accessibility of universal and comprehensive health care. I now request Sunil sir to play a small video of our college.
Begins with a small step. Proving this statement true, it all began in 1930 when two women educational enthusiasts took up a noble initiative. In the erstwhile posh locality of Sheshadripuram, Srimati Anandamma and Srimati Seethamma started a primary school with 20 children. Now, Sheshadripuram Educational Trust under its umbrella has 36 institutions. It all began with the educational visionary Sri K.M. Nanjappa, the then President of Sheshadripuram Educational Trust. In 1971, which has been a landmark in the history of education for the working students by starting Sheshadripuram Evening College.
Our college started with the primary objective of imparting formal education to the quality and needy. The college is affiliated to the Bengaluru Central University. Being in the heart of the city, it has an easy reach and connectivity. Its premises comprise of spacious building with good canteen, computerized library, business lab, browsing center, Wi-Fi facility, sports club, thus well equipped for all academic, sports, co-curricular like NSS, NCC, YRC, etc. and extracurricular activities throughout the year. college organizes orientation program for freshers and guest lecturers to equip them.
As most of us are working in the morning and studying in an evening degree college, it is very facilitative for us to excel in our jobs. Even though we are studying in an evening degree college, we are being provided many state level and national level opportunities to express our talents. Also, many cultural activities are being conducted.
SEDC is engaged in various cultural activities throughout the year. There are numerous committees in the college that perform variedly on their behalf and have a lasting effect on the college, students, as well as outsiders.
Our evening degree college believes in the vision to ignite the minds of every student to identify and develop their inner strength, with the mission to promote holistic development of students by offering quality education and making them self-reliant and progressive.
Our college NCC cadets will visit every academic year in Officers Training Academy Chennai and INS Kadamba Naval Base at Karwar. It will motivate our college NCC cadets to join Indian Armed Forces.
Thank you, Sunil sir. I now request our beloved principal, Professor N.S. Sakhi sir, to welcome and introduce all the dignitaries to this international webinar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Geeta madam. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Happy evening to India and happy morning to early birds of Washington and Florida. I take this opportunity to welcome you all for this international webinar on Journey of Women, Puberty to Post-Menopause in association with Days for Girls International, Washington, USA. At the outset, in his absentia, I would like to welcome Dr. Udupi Krishna, President Karnataka Gandhi Smaraka Nidhi and Honorary General Secretary, Seshadripuram Education Trust. Further, I would like to introduce and welcome today's keynote speaker, Celeste Mergens, founder and CEO of Days for Girls International, Washington, USA. Madam holds master's degree in creative writing and literature and audited a second in global sustainable development. She has led the organization since its beginning in 2008. Her can-do team building approach has inspired thousands of volunteers and social enterprises around the world. She is the key person to bring dignity, education, and opportunities to millions of women and girls around the world. Her passion to bring literally everyone into the menstrual health movement has inspired the creation of 150 social enterprises in 30 countries and 60,000 plus volunteers on 6 continents. Today, Days of Girls has reached more than 1.7 million women and girls in 144 countries. With the patent award winning Days for Girls menstrual kits and community health education. Celeste averages over 50 international speaking engagements a year, including UN Commission on Status of Women, Asia Women Conference Deloitte D2I team, Rotary International District Conferences, Sarojini International Conferences, TEDx Talks, etc. Madam, on behalf of Seshadripuram Education Trust, I wholeheartedly welcome you for this webinar.
Namaste. Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to join all of you today.
Thank you, madam.
With your permission, I will share my screen.
Madam, just 2 minutes, madam.
Okay,
I will complete my welcome and then we will start.
of course.
Then I would like to welcome today's theme speaker, Dr. Karen Harris, MD, MHD, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Program Director, Board President at Days for Girls International, Florida, USA. Dr. Karen is graduated from Vassar College in New York and received her medical degree from University of Florida. She has been practicing with North Florida Women's physician since 29 years. Madam is the first woman president of Florida Obstetrics and Gynecologic Society since 2001, the second woman president of Alachua County Medical Society, and was on the Perinatal Quality Committee of National Hospital Chain. She is an active chair in the American College of Obstetrician and Gynecologist. Currently, she is on steering committee of Florida Perinatal Quality Collaborative and member of Florida Pregnancy Associated Maternal Mortality Review Committee. Madam, on behalf of Sheshadripuram Education Trust, I wholeheartedly welcome you for this webinar.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here with you this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm immensely proud to introduce and welcome Dr. Padmini Prasad, renowned obstetrician and gynecologist, sexologist, and marriage counselor. Madam has been practicing since 1978, a well-known sexual and marriage counselor. She is a diplomat of American Board of Sexology, member of World Association of Sexual Health, member of International Society for Sexual Medicine, director of Institute of Sexual Medicine, Bangalore, President-elect of Bangalore Society of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and National Coordinator for Sexual Medicine Committee of the Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecology Societies of India. Madam has written many books on sexual health and sexual education and innumerable articles in newspapers and magazines on sexual and reproductive health problems. She is recipient of numerous awards like Rajyotsava Award, Kempegowda Award, Rani Chennamma Award, Golden Lamp Award, Silver Lamp Award from Council of Sex Education, Parenthood International, and many more. She is also has the privilege of being the first and only qualified sexologist in Karnataka. Madam, on behalf of Sheshadripuram Education Trust, I welcome you and I request you to preside over this international webinar.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I welcome all the office bearers and trustees of Sheshadripuram Education Trust and all the principals of our sister institution, other heads of the institution, conveners, volunteers, and all the participants who have registered across the globe. I welcome Darappa Konnur, Program Coordinator, Sunil G, IQAC Coordinator, and Geeta V, Convener, Chetana Women's Empowerment Cell of our college. And finally, I welcome our own teaching and administrative faculties to this webinar. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir, for welcoming all. On behalf of all, I welcome our beloved principal, sir, to this international webinar. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Due to domestic emergency, Dr. Udupi Krishna, sir, is unable to come online for this international webinar, and sir has sent his best wishes to the webinar. May I now request Celeste Merchant, founder and CEO, Days for Girls International, Washington, USA, to enlighten us on the topic. Over to you, madam.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind introductions. I will share my screen. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
Thank you. When Days for Girls started, I had no awareness of how little understanding about basic human biology could be understood, and also how much fear there was about important parts of human biology and the way we function, particularly around what Days for Girls focuses on, menstruation and the cycle of life. We have learned that this celebration of life and the things that you have come together to discuss today, puberty, the cycle all the way, including how babies happen, and to menopause. We're really honored that today you've invited us to join you in this important dialogue, and for all those who have taken the time to join this evening. It is an honor to be with you. During the recent pandemic, Days for Girls has found that, of course, periods don't pause for pandemics either. And the work of Days for Girls in India and all over the world continues as we help make sure that women, girls, and communities have the dignity of understanding health and also having solutions for menstrual wellness, which is a major focus for Days for Girls. Let's see. When Days for Girls started, I was in Kenya. I'd never thought of really what people do for menstruation. I've been invited to the slums of Kibera and then was at an orphanage. This orphanage had 400 children who were very crowded, 50 to a room, in the rooms you see here. One evening, I was pondering how to give them further support after violence had happened in the area after an election that was very close. As this violence erupted, 1,400 children were now packed in this already crowded area. One evening, I learned that they had been going without menstrual care products. And when I asked what the girls were doing for menstrual care products, I was told that they would wait in their rooms for days on a piece of cardboard. This was their solution. Days for Girls was at first, of course, myself and a group of volunteers working to solve this problem. And we created the first washable pads, knowing they would need something they could count on month after month. These are the first girls to ever receive Days for Girls kits. And they explained that before we came, they were being exploited in exchange for a single disposable pad. And this was when Days for Girls was born. Of course, we know that women menstruate on an average of 3,000 days in a lifetime. That's almost 8 years of our lives. But menstruation, like the other things we'll talk about today, somehow are considered in many parts of the world, even where I live, we would like to talk about many other things than menstruation. And as a result, shame, stigma, and hardship comes to women and girls all over the planet. When Days for Girls began, there were just a few of us reaching one orphanage. And then very shortly after, we learned that all over the world, women and girls were going without what they needed and faced a they did not know that without periods, there would be no people. Today, we have had the privilege of educating many, and this dialogue isn't just about a few women and a few girls. This is about the entire community, because often girls will miss school, women will miss opportunity, and lose confidence and the dignity of having knowledge that we all share. And we also know that an educated girl can have a profound impact on the development of their community. Congratulations again to this esteemed group for your work in educating girls and for elevating this conversation. We also have an emphasis that is called Men Who Know. In the Men Who Know curriculum, the men also engage in the work of understanding health, women's health, basic hygiene for the community, and elevating menstrual awareness and recognizing that menstruation affects us all. We all have mothers, daughters, sisters, family, and half of us experience menstruation and pregnancy and menopause, all things which this esteemed group has called together to discuss. For Days for Girls, our design for menstrual care has been through 30 iterations. These designs have been based on the feedback of those we serve. Today, these solutions are proving to last up to 5 years. But the education that comes with us stays with the whole community, long lasting, and indeed help girls stay in school. We also teach about all of the women's health issues in a very brief 1 to 1.5 hour course. We teach ambassadors locally to continue this throughout their community and to share. We do all this while honoring cultural perspective all around the world. And I promise what I'm about to share is on point for our conversation today. I ask you a very important question, and if you would please put in the chat, and Dr. Harris, if I could ask you to tell me what colors you're seeing. Ladies and gentlemen, what color do you see when you look at this dress? Now, perhaps you saw this about a year or even 2 ago, and perhaps you, like I, found that people saw different colors. Dr. Harris, is anyone reporting what color they see?
Let me see if I can look in the chat. No one yet, but I can tell you that I see periwinkle blue.
Okay, blue.
And it's blue and brown. So it's
Okay.
very interesting.
And would it surprise you, perhaps some of you see white and gold when you see this dress?
Here they come, blue and black, white and gold.
Yeah.
Yep.
So only 30% of us, reportedly by science, say that you see this dress for what it is, black and blue. This picture on the left is the dress. And the picture on the right is what some of us can see, and all different colors between. Isn't that so interesting? Do you know what the difference is? On the left, there is no background. So that's why we can see it the same color. On the right, it is the background that tricks our eye to see the color that works for us. It's based on the science that our eyes are able to see different colors in different light, whether it is beginning of sunrise in the beginning of the day, or evening or afternoon, that we can sort for colors. The background of this picture on the right tricks our eye to see different colors, different of us to see different colors. This kind of what happens around us affects all of our vision. It affects, and one of the things that can happen in parts of Asia is a practice called chopati. This practice, we have found, has left some girls and women isolated and at risk. It's easy to look at this extreme of menstruation response as something that is, of course, very dangerous. We know that girls can die from this, the exposure and risk. And yet, for them, they are protecting their family. They are feeling in their hearts that they would do anything to protect their family. And I believe that each of us completely understand that we would do anything to protect our family. It is easy to look at one thing and not understand the complete intent. This is true for menstruation of all kinds and women's health cycle of all kinds. Without understanding the journey, we can fall into shame and danger, and even miss opportunities for greater wellness in our community, greater strength for everyone. Okay, so thanks to your invitation today, we get to touch on some of the things that Days for Girls emphasizes in our curriculum. We begin with understanding about puberty and the amazing journey of going from being a child to being an adult. This is one of the greatest times, of course, we all know, of transformation. This journey from being a small infant that can't even hold their head up to being someone who can run, and from birth to about 12 months. That change happens so quickly, and so much changes as a child. And the other places that great change happens is, of course, between child and being an adult, that part that we call puberty. Now, during this change, there are many things that are phenomenal about how our bodies change. One of them is, of course, the ability for menstrual flow to happen, for our cycle to begin. And what's lovely about that is, in the same way that our amazing bodies can transform so greatly, the ability to have this cycle is triggered by hormones. And all of it ties to that progress from not only being a child to being an adult, but also to the ability to have humanity continue on. Days for Girls kits are part of the menstrual care. I have this slide out of order, apologize. And this is an example I thought you would like to see of our washable menstrual care kits that do last conveniently for up to 5 years. So when Days for Girls is teaching about the body's transformation and ability, one of the things that we get to share is how our amazing bodies work. We like to point out things that are practical, like that your uterus is the size of your fist. A woman's uterus is the size of their fist. And that along with the uterus, which you of course see here, that the ovum that comes from the ovary, that this is actually also a phenomenal journey that your body takes, that your body has a cycle of hormones that tells it when to release an egg. And this cycle can be understood. We get to teach about ovulation, and that during what part of your cycle you are most likely to become pregnant, and how you calculate your cycle. Also something that can be known and understood. Menstruation, perhaps one of the great taboos that you as a group are invited to join the global movement to break the stigma for. I am sure with your education and the things that you discuss here, I know that you had a conversation about menstruation just a couple of weeks ago at most. And so you already are champions for breaking the stigma of menstruation. And what a beautiful thing it would be if everywhere in the world it is understood as a practical and wonderful thing. And yet all over the world, there are myths about this. There's misunderstanding about this. And at Days for Girls, we invite you to be one of the champions changing the stigma to celebration. We also know that without the cycle, there cannot be babies. Babies cannot happen. One of the things that we highlight is the overcoming some of the myths about this as well. That it is only, it is some believe that during your the first time of any interaction, you cannot become pregnant. We get to explain that your amazing body is actually able to, for a sperm to join an ovum anywhere from 3 to 5 days that they are alive and swimming. And that, in fact, you were the winner from the very beginning. You were the egg of the month that met up with the fastest sperm. So from the very beginning, it was you that was the winner. And that in fact, whether you become a boy or a girl is not based on anyone's control, but it is based on which sperm was the fastest and made it, was it a boy sperm or a girl sperm? And this is one of the wonders of your creation. And now we'll turn the time over to Dr. Harris, who will discuss fertility and family planning. Dr. Harris.
Well, thank you, Celeste. You know, Days for Girls is such an impactful organization. And I really, as an OBGYN, I love the fact that we are reaching literally millions of women and girls around the country and the world to talk about women's health, talk about fertility, talk about family planning, optimizing the health of women. You know, Celeste didn't totally explain why it's called Days for Girls. And I'm going to jump in here on that one because I think this is really important that in many parts of the world, especially like Chopati and other situations where women are isolated during their period and ostracized, or don't have products because they can't go to school and are menstruating on a piece of cardboard, they miss school. We are giving girls back time, giving girls back days. So these days for the girls, they can keep up with their male peers. This is critically important. We know that women and girls can make a huge difference in society. Why do we discount their ability to learn, to be productive? Some societies lose half their population, all the women out of production and good life. This organization is really empowering women. And the enterprises Celeste is talking about really talk about women working and being productive on their own. These are women-run organizations. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the medical pieces here. Being in public health and working with population health, there's so much you can do as a school and members of society to help promote girls and women and health. And I'm just going to give you a few tips and tricks here as we go through this. The idea of fertility timeline and family planning has to do with those eggs. You know, as Celeste was mentioning, women can get pregnant the first time they have sex. And that seems to be a myth out there that you can't. Women are born with all the eggs they're ever going to have in their whole life. As a little bitty, teeny, tiny embryo in your mother, you develop eggs and then they start frittering off. And we'll talk about menopause, which is where the eggs gradually decline and finally you stop making eggs. And we're going to talk about the best biologic time to get pregnant. So let's go to the next slide. So there is a fertility timeline for women. The optimal time to get pregnant is probably 18 to 24. Women start their periods anywhere as young as 9 in the United States, but often between 11 and 14. That's not the right time to get pregnant, even though you're making your eggs. And by the time you get to age 35, it becomes much harder to get pregnant. And by the time of 40 and 45, most women don't get pregnant. And we really believe that this is due to the age of the eggs. Even if you do get pregnant very late in life for reproduction, which means in your 40s, about half of those pregnancies will miscarry simply because the age of the egg. And that's Mother Nature just ending an abnormal pregnancy. And we talked about menopause is really when those eggs start to run out. Next slide, please. So birth control, how do we plan these pregnancies? Well, first of all, not having pregnancies before age 18 is really important. And women in the United States and Europe tend to become sexually active at about age 14. That's the average age. Half of all girls have had sex by then. My goodness, we need to prevent the pregnancies. And that's where the birth control comes in. Remember that planning pregnancy is to optimize the health of the mother. Women who have chronic medical conditions, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, don't do as well during pregnancy. We need them to be very healthy before they get pregnant. It is a myth out there that once you're pregnant, you can get all healthy and have a healthy baby, but it happens before pregnancy. Once pregnancy happens, you know, sometimes there's not a lot we can do with the long-standing medical conditions. So planning that pregnancy is really critical. This is where you get into birth spacing. At the best optimal time to have between the pregnancies is 18 months to 2 years. So basically, the babies should not be any closer than 2 years apart. That's to let the mother recover and do better with the next pregnancy. So one of the best ways to plan your pregnancy and have great birth spacing is something called a LARC, a long-acting reversible contraception. These are your IUDs and the implants, the Nexplanons. They can be removed at any point you want to get pregnant. So Another option is the pills, the patch, and the ring. These use hormonal contraception that are given to your system to stop ovulation. There are barrier methods, condoms, diaphragms. They work, it's better than nothing. And then there's emergency contraception. I do want to remind women of the quote, morning after pill, as we call it in the United States, that it is available over the counter and highly effective if taken within 72 hours of unprotected sex. So the next slide, please. So if you've never seen bedsider.org, great website about contraception. I really like it because it's not branded and talks about the facts of birth control in very understandable language for everyone. So this is a great slide that looks at your chances of getting pregnant by what kind of birth control you're using. The ones on the top, less than 1 in 100 women get pregnant. And then you have in the middle where you have 6 or 9 women can get pregnant. And interestingly, that's the birth control pills, the patch, the rings, the shots. And then the bottom one is the barrier methods, which are not particularly good. But again, it is better than not doing anything. All right, next slide. So when you do plan to get pregnant, it's really important to have great health of the mother, as we talked about planning that pregnancy, especially if you have long-standing medical problems. If you have diabetes before you get pregnant, you need to have wonderful blood sugar control before pregnancy, because that's going to determine the health of your baby and whether or not that baby will even have a birth defect, because it's based on the blood sugar control at conception, not after you get pregnant. High blood pressure needs to be controlled. It puts mothers at great risk for complications in pregnancy. So next slide. So when we talk about healthy mothers, and let's look at how pregnancy works. And the first 3 months are where we want to register for prenatal care. This is a time when you can address any medical problems that need to be controlled during the pregnancy. And it's best to get that done right at the beginning of pregnancy. Any medications, we can adjust those. And then remember too, this is the time for genetic testing. Did you know we can test the mother to see if she's a carrier for genetic problems such as cystic fibrosis and spinal muscular atrophy, a form of muscular dystrophy? If she has the gene, then we can test the father and know if if you need more testing. We can also look at if the baby is at risk for having Down syndrome or trisomy 21. Those are things we can do for the mother to help her know about her baby. In the second trimester of the pregnancy, about 14 to 27 weeks, we look at how the baby's growing. And then we can check on the baby. You know, mothers often want to know how the baby's doing and if there's going to be any concerns for the baby. In the last part of the pregnancy, we're going to really be looking at how the baby's growing. Next slide. I want to make people aware too, and I think this is widely available now, that if you have availability of ultrasound, early ultrasound will help you date your pregnancy better. In the United States, we've learned that early ultrasound is a little bit better than last menstrual period. Worldwide, last menstrual period is what's available, and certainly women have dated pregnancies for many years and know when their babies are going to be born. But it's just another very nice addition to prenatal care. Next slide. So the baby grows inside, and what is really interesting is that all the parts of the baby are really formed by about 12 weeks. And we think of the baby really just growing from there. However, some mothers get kind of tired of being pregnant and say, maybe if they have the capability of a hospital or a doctor, they want to deliver those babies early. So there was a problem with that in the United States where women were delivering before a week before they were due, or 39 weeks, and they were finding babies were ending up not doing very well. So there are some reasons why we should wait until you're due if everything's going perfectly and going super well. Did you know that 40% of babies' brain growth happens in the last 5 weeks of the pregnancy? Isn't that amazing? And that brain growth happens a lot in the front of your brain, which is super cool. So we want that baby to mature and grow during inside the mother. Next slide. So that regular prenatal care for a healthy baby is really important so that we can follow women along. Next slide. All right, what about danger signs in pregnancy? I, as you have heard, am on the Maternal Mortality Review Committee for Florida. So tomorrow I'm going to be reviewing 15 maternal deaths, 15 mothers who died during pregnancy and after birth in Florida. Wow, this is still a problem. This is a huge problem around the world. Why are our mothers dying, and what can we do? Well, we can be aware of some danger signs in pregnancy. The preeclampsia, or blood pressure problems in pregnancy, can cause headaches, abdominal pain, massive swelling. So certainly women should seek care if any of that happens. Between the high blood pressure problem, preeclampsia, and bleeding too much or hemorrhage in pregnancy, those are the two leading causes of death for women. We can do something about that as a society. We can get women into prenatal care, have good places for them to have their babies. So the bleeding is really an important sign that needs to be taken care of right away. No bleeding is normal in pregnancy. Next slide. And birth. So here's some pictures of having a baby. I hope it's not too much for people to see birth. But what we really need to understand about birth is to make sure our mothers have good birthing attendants. They deliver in a good setting that can protect them when complications occur. A lot of countries around the world have done a remarkable job with this. And because the mother's in the right setting for her delivery, she does well and survives. 500 years ago, 1 in 100 women died in childbirth. No more now. We're getting better. But did you know about 70% of all deaths of mothers are preventable? We can do better. There's a lot more we can do. So this is super critical to have trained birth attendants if you're in a more low resource setting and out in the countryside, but in hospitals to have good protocols. Patients who have complications. We talked about those long-standing medical problems. Those women probably should be delivered in a hospital and not outside of that. So next slide. So our goal is a healthy mother and a healthy baby as we continue our journey through life. So we've talked about some of the puberty, some of the fertility issues, and then pregnancy. So let's move to the next topic where we can talk about menopause. So next slide. So what is menopause? What is this? Menopause is when your period stops, right? Average age in the United States is 51. But half of women are before that, and half of women after that. So menopause is technically no periods for a year. But what's this thing of perimenopause? You hear that word too, around the menopause. And that is a time when periods are very erratic, irregular. Some women will have those hot flashes, getting warm. And so it's an interesting time. So next slide. Estrogen is what causes menopause symptoms. So if you look at the slide here, I really like this. The pink part is how much estrogen is in the woman's body. And then the white part is when it is no estrogen. So estrogen levels peak when you're young and then gradually decline. And there's actually quite a big drop between age 45 and 55. It can just plummet. And those lack of estrogen is due to the lack of eggs. So there's something about making the eggs, and those of us in the medical world know where that estrogen is made in that egg and the ovary and why that actually declines. But that's probably too much science for this type of lecture. And so we need to talk about too, what happens if the period stops too early. If it's under age 40, there might be a medical problem, and we probably ought to check into that. So next slide. So as we were talking about, this entire lecture has really been about eggs. So when you have puberty starting, your eggs are starting to be released from the ovary. They're turning on, they're making lots of estrogen, your body develops, you become pregnant with eggs. We try to prevent eggs from getting fertilized during family planning times. And then when you're pregnant, it's with eggs. And then finally, late in life, eggs fade away. So women and ovaries and eggs are just such fun things to talk about. Next slide. So what is this menopause, sisterhood, transition, perimenopause? What are some of the symptoms women can have? Next slide. So actually go back one, Celeste. Let me look at that one more time. In terms of symptoms of menopause, there are some facts and fiction going on. When we look at stopping the period, if women experience those really bad hot flashes, that can be very disruptive to their life. Some women are truly miserable, and they don't sleep. Because they don't sleep, they get very irritable and cranky, and that can lead to depression and problems with relationships. There's some treatment available if women qualify for that can help ease that transition with hormone replacement. So that's kind of normal. But many of these, we can have a sisterhood support, know these changes are normal, that this is a natural transition and does fade off with time. And then women have a wonderful later part of their life. Just like puberty can be a bit disruptive to women and all the changes that go on, menopause is an equally changing time for women, and we should offer support for them. Next slide. So this is my slide about women's life stages, sort of to bring this all together. The childhood and then the puberty, we have our first period. Hormonal changes at that point with the eggs can even cause the disruption of your mood then. And then we get through pregnancy, child raising, careers, and then menopause, and then we can have lifestyle changes, and then finally older age. So next slide. So thank you, everyone. And Celeste, maybe I'll let you wrap up here with the final word from Days for Girls. You're on mute.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for your very interesting presentation. It's a delight to be with all of you. I have found, as a woman, I have experienced almost all of this part of the cycles of womanhood. And I can tell you that during every part of it, I have been able to live a full and enjoyable, joyful life, which I hope all of you attending this event enjoy as well. And that in each of them, I have felt significant and I have felt like my days mattered. It is amazing to me that something as simple as the kind of understanding we have just shared can transform lives, can literally help people to be more healthy, help people to understand the significance of the opportunity to use all of their days. We are so happy to be with you here today and invite each of you to be ambassadors of health, and pass the word. Thank you again to all who have attended, to hosts, and congratulations to the college and university for your jubilee.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Celeste Marjan, Madam, and Dr. Karen Harris, Madam, for the informative session, which has opened a new gateway of awareness to our Indian context. Now the floor is open for the interaction. As we are running out of time, we take up only few questions which we have received in the chat box. I request Sunil sir to moderate the interaction session.
Good evening, all. The first question is for Karen ma'am. Does menopause have any side effects to the female? If yes, then what can be done?
Yes, side effects. Those are the symptoms of menopause, such as the hot flashes. There can be, with the lack of estrogen, some vaginal dryness, sleep disturbances, and often those are best treated with estrogen hormone replacement. Those are very low doses of estrogen, even lower than your ovary naturally makes. So those would be prescribed by a gynecologist, and I would have a consultation with your physician about treatment, because there are some medical reasons why some women should not take it, and there's have to do 2 hormones most of the time, not just one.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Again, one more question to you only. The next one, what measures should we take when nearing to menopause and after menopause?
Healthy lifestyle. We have found that avoiding caffeine and alcohol can help with some of the symptoms and help women feel better through the transition. Be sure people exercise, eat well. There's no particular thing to do other than good health.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And the last question, any one of you can answer. Is like Siesta ma'am, or you can answer, because it was an open-ended question. How a woman can manage hormonal influence and achieve hormone consistency throughout the various phases of life? Can I repeat it, ma'am? Or is that fine?
Mm-hmm. How do you manage the hormonal changes through life? Was the question?
How a woman can manage hormonal influence and achieve hormone consistency throughout the various phases of life.
Mm. Mm.
Uh-huh.
for me, if I may help answer that one, understanding helps so much. If you don't understand what's happening with your body, for instance, in puberty, how you might have waves of strong emotion, and also in menopause, if you do not understand these shifts, then they are frightening to you and to your family. Once you understand, it is much easier to manage. I remember when my daughter turned 14, she became very, very emotional. I was worried for her mental wellness. She would become so angry for apparently no reason and for small periods of time. And then I realized what was happening for her. And it became, instead of something fearful, I was able to say, "Oh, you are starting puberty." And she said, "Oh, do you think so?" Understand, instead of being afraid, both of us being afraid, it became a celebration of who she is. This understanding we talked about today is important for people to understand the hormonal changes and to not be afraid, but to celebrate.
Sunil sir? Okay, thanks.
Thank you for your questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, resourceful speaker, for the answering question of the participant. A small announcement before presidential remarks. We send the feedback form link now in the chat box, as well as to your registered mail, which will be active for next 48 hours. Kindly fill the same and send back for e-certificate. The e-certificates will reach you immediately after the submission of your feedback forms. May I now request Dr. Padmini Prasad, renowned obstetrician, gynecologist, and sexologist, marriage counselor, Bangalore, India, to render presidential remarks.
Thank you, Geeta. Ellarigu namaskara. Good evening to you all. Good morning to Mrs. Celeste and Karin. With great pleasure, I am participating in this beautiful international webinar on Journey of Women, Puberty to Post-Menopause, organized by Chetna of Seshadripuram Evening College in association with Days for Girls International, Washington, D.C. I profusely thank the organizers, Seshadripuram College organizers, especially Dr. Udepi Krishna, Professor N.S. Satish, and others for this wonderful opportunity. After an impressive introduction of our guests, really it is such an honor for us to have these ladies, such highly accomplished ladies, who really made it so simple about the journey of women and who have been doing a lot of work in the field of women's empowerment and women's health. And see, when our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, talked about sanitary pads and menstruation from the ramparts of Red Fort during our Independence Day speech, the biggest taboo and myth about menstruation was broken. That itself empowered our women to be comfortable and talk about a very natural and normal body function of women, which was surrounded by myths, shyness, guilt, anxiety, shame, and hush-hush talk, and a big taboo topic. I really congratulate Seshadripuram College for breaking this barrier and removing this taboo. So we have heard such nice presentations from both our doctors. And just to briefly touch upon this, there is nothing much for me to tell. They have covered everything. See, the woman's journey from puberty to post-menopause. The journey of womanhood is wonderful, yet complex. Female body undergoes innumerable changes right from a child to a teenager to a woman. For a woman, nature is taking care of all body changes, functions, and growth all along with mental and emotional changes without even the woman being conscious about what is happening in her body. The lack of knowledge and understanding itself is a serious concern. Puberty and menopause are about new beginnings, symbolic chapters in a woman's life. Puberty is about growing up and blossoming with rising hormones, and menopause is growing old and aging with falling hormones. Mrs. Joan Gray, a freelance writer, describes puberty and menopause as toxic cocktail of hormones, which involves lot of tears, jerks, tantrums, and door slamming in some. In both phases, there can be irrational, anxious, irritable, and tearful moments and emotions. Change is never easy, so also journey from puberty to menopause. To explain this journey in a very simple and beautiful way, in the journey of uterus, there are two important milestones. The menarche, the beginning of reproductive cycle, menopause, end of reproductive cycle. This journey lasts 35 to 40 years, starts around 12 to 14 years, and ends by 48 to 52 years, as you all saw that. The years surrounding initiation and completion of female reproductive cycle are associated with major neuroendocrine reorganization. So this journey, usually what we do, we always blame everything, anything and everything on our hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. If they fluctuate, life sucks. If they are in balance, life is wonderful. They control egg release, change lining of uterus, gets ready to accept fertilized egg. Otherwise, it throws out its lining. This occurs month after month till they get exhausted and decide no more. During menarche, that is the first occurrence of period, the uterus begins to assert its power. Now ready to reproduce. Uterus gets to decide it all. Life becomes a power struggle between the uterus and its owner. Usually the uterus wins. Then it gives womb service for pregnancy. At the end of the womb service and working month after month, it asks, give me a break. Ovaries call it a day. Everyone is out of sorts. Finally, the uterus reaches its journey's end, goes to peaceful retirement. That is menopause. But its owner may not feel the same because during post-menopause, the woman has her own concerns and problems due to falling hormones. Biological, behavioral, environmental, and social influences across lifespan affect health of the persons. During various phases, that is adolescence, early adulthood, late adulthood, menopause, and post-menopause, the various problems can happen. It can be developmental problems, sexual problems, genetic, environmental problems, hormonal problems. It can be related to growth, menstruation, pregnancy, diseases, operations, cancers, menopausal symptoms, bones and joint problems, diabetes, hypertension, etc. A woman's body is always on duty. She must take care of what is happening intrinsically and extrinsically. Prevention is always better than cure. Healthy mind and healthy body help woman to make her mark in the world. Because only thing is, if she has a good lifestyle with the proper diet, balanced diet, exercise, frequent and timely health checkups, and a proper sleep pattern and a good lifestyle can prevent most of the diseases. And early diagnosis, prevention, and a timely intervention and a proper treatment can really make a woman an empowered woman so that she can contribute well to the society. So in the beautiful slides by Dr. Karen and Celeste, they explained so much. They have been doing so much for the women's empowerment, and for it was so simple for both medical and non-medical people to understand things. So I really am so happy that it really helped all our attendees and the audiences. And Celeste has been doing so much. A simple intervention in a Kenya, how it has made her think about empowering women all over the world. And Dr. Karen has been doing so much in the field of maternal mortality and a very good obstetrician, I think in Florida, if I am correct. So it was really a wonderful experience for me. It is really a great pleasure for me to listen to your beautiful lectures and see the beautiful slides. And I hope it has really enlightened all our audiences. I am extremely thankful to all the organizers of Seshadripuram College. I congratulate them for the Silver Jubilee celebration, and I also congratulate them for this bold step in removing the taboo and then giving the woman empowerment. I could see that way back in so many years back, two enlightened ladies started the Seshadripuram College. So that itself is such a woman's empowerment, and it has come such a long way. I'm really happy about it. I'm extremely thankful for all this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam, for the presidential remarks. Very shortly, we will meet in one more international webinar of our Evening Degree College, that is on 26 August, 9:30 a.m. The topic is Rabindranath Tagore, Nature Philosopher. In association with Indian Asian Studies Center, Chulalongkorn University, Bangkok, Thailand, and the Sustainability Platform Asia. I request Ratnavi, administrative staff, to render vote of thanks. It is my proud privilege to propose vote of thanks as a member of Chetana Women Empowerment Cell of our college for this international webinar. At the outset, I thank Days for the Girls International, Washington, USA for the associating with us for the international webinar. I would like to express our sincere gratitude to today's chief guest who has rendered keynote address, Celeste Merchants. Thank you very much, Madam, for making this international webinar a grand success. I am humbled and grateful to you. I express our sincere thanks to today's theme speaker, Dr. Karen Harris, for the enlightening us and journey of women. Thank you very much, Madam. I express our wholehearted thanks to Dr. Padmini Prasad. We are indebted for your perpetual support for this program. Thank you, Madam, for your presidential remarks. In his absentia, I thank Dr. Udupi Krishna Sir, President, Karnataka Gandhi Smaraka Nidhi, and Honorary General Secretary, Seshadripuram Educational Trust, Bangalore. In his absentia, I thank Professor C.L. Basurajaya Sir, Chairman, Governing Council, SEDC, and I thank all the office bearers and trustees of Seshadripuram Educational Trust. My special thanks to our beloved, vigorous, dynamic principal, Professor N.S. Satish Sir, who is the strength of our Seshadripuram Evening Degree College. I would thank Berappa Kannur, Program Coordinator, Sunil Kumar Ji, Coordinator IQSC, and Geeta V, Convener Chetana Women Empowerment Cell of our college, who have helped us to materialize this webinar. I express our gratitude to all the principals, conveners, and members of our sister institutions and other colleges, academicians, research scholars, students, and delegates across the globe for participating in this webinar. We will ever remain grateful to our teaching and administrative staff for their support. Thank you, Ananda. The register link is in the chat box. Once again, thank each and everyone. Now we conclude the webinar.
Thank you, Celeste madam. It was
Celeste
very
madam,
beautiful presentation, madam. And
Namaste.
Karen madam, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Padmini madam, thank you for your presidential remarks, madam.
thank you, madam.
It's been our pleasure.